Starting college is a very exciting time. You're living away from home, taking classes, and even meeting new people. But it's also a time where interpersonal violence and sexual assault peaks on college campuses. WKYT's Jessica Umbro talking with UK police about what they're doing to keep students safe and how to support those who are trying to heal from a traumatic experience.
They're getting exposed to high-risk activities in situations that they may not know anybody and get left alone.
University of Kentucky Police Chief Joe Monroe says starting college and all the changes that come with it can bring on new and dangerous situations on campus, with the beginning of the fall semester through Thanksgiving break being called the red zone, accounting for the majority of college campus sexual assaults, a figure which is hard to measure when many cases go unreported.
With these underrepresented and underreported crimes of sexual assault, we've really got to change the way we do things and reach out to those survivors and victims to make sure that we're providing resources for them.
He says their department has a special victims unit with 2 detectives and a victim advocate that walk people through the resources available in the community, including the court process and UK's own campus resources.
Whether they want to press criminal charges or not, we still want to make sure that it gets reported and we get them the assistance they need to recover.
There is an advocacy group at the University of Kentucky who specifically serve those who have experienced interpersonal violence. On their website, there is even an option to quickly leave the page if you are not able to view their content safely.
These type of resources are important to help break down those barriers and stigmas of not reporting the crime.
Chief Monroe says prevention during the red zone and all other times of the year is a group effort.
If you're that guy at a party and you see something happening, don't be afraid to intervene. That bystander intervention can go very far.
In Lexington, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
More information about UK's Violence Intervention and Prevention Center can be found on our website at WKYT.com and in this story on the WKYT News app. As always, if you're ever in an emergency situation, you're urged to call 911.